Today we're going to turn these ordinary plastic eggs that you can find at Dollar General for $1.50 each into beautiful high-end decor. I hope you enjoy. These plastic egg containers are 6 inches tall. They have a flat side on one so that they can lay down flat sideways, and they have a flat bottom so that they can sit upright. I will be using the half of each one of these to make 4 separate projects. For both of these, I will be painting them with white chalk paint. You could take this outside and spray paint it white, but it was quite chilly this day, so I chose to paint mine with chalk paint because it adheres to most anything. You will want to apply a thin coat, allow it to dry, and it's going to take a couple of coats. I painted both the outside and the inside for both of these. I have a wooden circle that's about 2.5 inches, and you can buy these in a package from Amazon. Using that same white paint, I'm going to paint the outside edges as well as both sides and allow that to dry. And now that we have a couple of coats of paint on our egg, we are going to use the one that's only flat on the bottom. We're going to be gluing this to the wood circle. Now, I do recommend that you use a permanent glue. For video purposes, I'm just using hot glue, but you may want to use a super glue. This is going to create a nice base for our egg so that it will be able to sit upright on its own. I'm using a mini basket that I purchased from Hobby Lobby in a package of 6, and you can get those for less than $5. I'm going to hot glue that in the center at the bottom of the egg. And then I have some mini pastel eggs, and I am going to place those in the basket. You do want to add a little bit of hot glue to hold those in place, and I was able to put 6 of those in there, so it looks a little bit like this. I'll be using some paper flowers from Hobby Lobby, but you could use any type of artificial flower that you want. I am going to glue one at the very top edge, at the peak at the top of the egg, glue one on each side, and then I'm going to use some berry garland from Dollar Tree. I want this to curve a little bit, so I'm wrapping it around the handle of my weeding tool. I want the end of it to go behind that flower at the very top of the egg and then curve down and go around the basket, and I can tuck the extra down behind the basket. To hold it in place, I'm going to add some hot glue just in a couple of different areas so that that berry garland will not move, and then I'll take my hairdryer to remove any of the glue strands. For this project, we're using the other half of the egg that lays down sideways. I'm hot gluing some twine all along the lip where the 2 eggs meet. And once I have that in place, I will very carefully take my lighter to singe all of the little fuzzies off of the twine. I'm going to hot glue a piece of floral foam on the inside. And I am using some yellow paint and mixing some white paint in there just to make it a little bit lighter. And I am painting these little wooden chicks that you can find at Dollar Tree. I will paint both sides because you will be able to see those. Now we can place those inside of the floral foam, and I do recommend that you hot glue them in place. And I'm going to fill the top of that to cover up the floral foam with some Spanish moss, tucking that around and hot gluing it into place, and then using my scissors to trim it up to really clean it up so it'll look like this. And I'm using some mini white flowers and tucking those in all around the chicks. You can add as many or as little as you like. Before we get started on our next egg projects, I just wanted to share with you this beautiful trio of bunnies. The color finish on it is absolutely beautiful. It has these little speckles in it. And I found this at Dollar General for only $3. I am going to set this on top of a wooden plaque that I previously DIY'd by adding some stain and scrapbook paper to it. And this little cutie is so perfect with these two previous projects we just made. For the next two projects, we'll be using the two halves of these blue eggs. Again, just like the previous project, I'm going to give these a nice base coat of white chalk paint, making sure that I paint both inside and outside. And this will take several coats. While that's drying, I have a rectangular piece of wood, and I am going to paint all sides, including the outside edge, with one coat of white chalk paint. I'm using the half of the egg that has a flat side to it and some gold cording. I am going to make a mark in the center, running it from one end to the other, but not to the bottom half. Then I'll make another line going in the opposite direction and two diagonals. So once you're finished, it'll look like this, but you don't want to go to the bottom part where it's flat. Then we're going to use that as a guide to place hot glue and our gold cording on top of each of these lines, cutting it right there where the little indentation is for where the eggs would close together. This is what it's going to look like. Right there where that indentation is, we are going to take that same gold cording and place that around to trim this outer edge. I have a small wooden flower from Dollar Tree, and I am going to paint that with some gold acrylic paint on all sides, including the outside edges. And once that dries, I'm going to hot glue this right where all of the gold cording meets on the back side of the egg. So it's going to look like this. And the rectangle that we painted white, I am going to trim that out with the same gold cording just by applying the hot glue right in the center and wrapping this all the way around. This will be the base for our egg since it can't stand on its own. That is why we didn't put the cording on the very bottom of the egg. Now I'm using hot glue, but of course you could use a more permanent adhesive, and this is what it's looking like so far. Now let's work on what we're going to put on the inside of this. I have a package of blue floral napkins that I found at Hobby Lobby, and they do have the print all the way across on one side. I need to remove the back layer, so we're only left with the top layer. Using a detail paintbrush and just some water, I'm going to go around the design on the napkin, and then I am going to pull it apart. I want my edges to be a little rough. I don't want them to be clean. I want them to be jagged. Then we'll set that to the side, let that napkin dry, and I'll continue to do that through this whole napkin, just creating lines around each of the flower patterns. They don't have to be perfect, and they don't have to be the exact same. If you're going right there at the edge, just take your water and go around it so it doesn't have a straight line but more of a curve. Then allow all of your napkin pieces to thoroughly dry. I wasn't sure how many I was going to need, but I am going to cover this styrofoam egg from Dollar Tree using Mod Podge. You want to apply a nice amount of Mod Podge to an area large enough for your piece of napkin. Press that down and then make sure you have the Mod Podge all the way underneath where that piece of napkin would be. Take your paintbrush, dip it into the Mod Podge, and start applying it to the top of the napkin from the center, working your way out, pushing all of the edges down. There will be some wrinkles, but that's okay. It's going to end up being very beautiful. Then you'll go to the next area, repeat that same process, and you'll continue to do this until you have the entire egg covered. Now you can use your hair dryer or heating tool in between to help dry it so that you can go to the next section, and you want your edge of your napkin pieces to overlap. Now that it is completely dry, this piece is absolutely gorgeous. We're going to attach this to the inside using some hot glue. Again, you may want to use some super glue. And we're just going to place that right in the center. And then I felt like the top part of our half egg needed a little something extra. So using that same gold cording, I made a very simple bow. I am going to glue that to the very top of the egg and then trim the tails of the bow. For this project, I'm using 2 of those beautiful blue floral napkins. If you have trouble removing the back ply, a trick to that is to just take a piece of Scotch tape, place it on the corner, and it will easily be able to pull that back ply off. We're going to do that for both napkins, so we're only left with that top piece with the print. And just like we did in our previous project, we're going to take a detailed brush with some water, go around it, create all these little jagged edges and separate the floral pattern on the napkin. Set those to the side, let them completely dry. Now we're using that other half of that egg that is rounded on the back. We're going to apply a layer of Mod Podge and apply pieces of this napkin on top of that. Again, you'll want to apply your Mod Podge on top of the napkin, working in one direction and making sure that it is nice and flat and adhered to your egg. Now I did overlap mine so that I would be able to pull these pieces over the edge and cover the edge of the egg. And we're going to continue to apply the Mod Podge, pieces of the napkin overlapping the previous napkin, and then applying the Mod Podge on top until you have the entire side of this egg covered. I waited about 30 to 40 minutes after I had applied all of the napkins on this side and allowed that Mod Podge to completely dry. Then I can flip it over and continue this process on the inside of the egg. I placed these pieces so that they would also overlap the edge and then glued them down on the outside of the egg. As I went through, I decided to leave some of the area white, so I just placed a small piece over there at the edge, and I thought this just looked so perfect with that opening in the middle with some of that white showing. And of course, we need a base for our egg to sit up on, so I'm using one of these wooden circles. I am going to paint that white with one coat of chalk paint, but you can use acrylic paint, and allow that to completely dry. And then I am going to cover it with those same napkin patterns on all sides and let that completely dry. Again, you'll want to wait maybe 30 to 40 minutes to let your Mod Podge set up. I have a glass tapered candle holder from Dollar Tree that I thought would make the perfect stand for this. Again, for video purposes, I'm just using hot glue, but you'll definitely want to use a more permanent adhesive to place the base on top. It is the perfect size. And then we can glue that half egg on top of our base. Now you'll want to push this more towards the back so that the back half of the egg is resting closer to the back of the base, because inside you can put a glass votive candle holder and of course a battery operated candle, not a real one. And I'll show you what it looks like with and without that glass candlestick holder. I hope you enjoyed today's projects, and if you have a favorite, please let me know in the comment section down below because I always love to know which one is your favorite. If you haven't subscribed already, I would love for you to click that subscribe button right below the video. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please take care, and I'll see you guys next time.